Recording. Okay, there we go. Okay. Well, afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Revis is going to join us shortly. She's with another group, and she said that she knew that she wouldn't be through with them quite at 7 o'clock. So she'll join us in a little bit because she'll have some things that she will want to share too. I went back and well, you got my email last night. I went back and I rethought things, and I could have, sometimes, and as a leader, sometimes you have to do that. You have to think about where you are, and you have to just revise your plan. And I just felt like that it was, some of the things that I could have done tonight, I have chosen not to do it simply because I just think that everybody's got a full plate right now, and I felt like we needed to focus on where we were, where we are now, and basically where we need to go, and to be very, very informal tonight. In just a little bit, I'm just going to open it up, and we're going to talk like family, because that's what we are this summer. We're family, and we just need to just map it out and just know exactly what it is, that's got to be done as you're at the very tail end of this program. I do want to say there's 14 students in this class. I told you, I push hard, but I push hard for a reason. I don't like anything but the very best. I've always been that way. I expect that out of myself. I've expected it out of my children. I expect it out of all my staff, as over the years that I've worked. I expect it out of you. And so I told you I was going to push and push and push and push and push, and it's paid off. Out of the 14 students, 11 have completed the CAP. Out of 11, 10 of them have been graded. Felicia's, yours is in there waiting to be graded, so you'll get to it tonight sometime probably. But out of the 10 that have been graded, guess what? Every one of them are 4s. Every one of them are 4s. So I say all that to say this. And I'm expecting, the 3 that's out there, I expect Felicia's to be a 4. It should be. I've looked at her work, and the thing I want to say about those of you that have submitted your work, when I sent it back to you and I told you, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, not one of you did not go back and fix the things that I needed for you to fix, to make it what I felt like would be an accomplished piece of work when your evaluator looked at it. So for the ones that have already gotten through the CAP, and I just want to say a job well done, and I want to thank you again for putting up with my emails, putting up with my pushing you, putting up with this. It paid off. You're not through with me yet, because I'm going to do the very same thing with the SIAP, and probably a little more aggressively, because I'm going to have to. But it's for your own good. I want you to finish the race well, and it's my job to help you get there, and I'm just going to do it. So you're stuck with me for about 3 or 4 more weeks, and I'm just going to do what we've been doing, and you keep on doing what you're supposed to do as well. But the 3 of you that owe me work, I need the work. We need to clear that part of your life, and we need to move on. There's too much to do. With that in mind, I want to talk briefly about what the next couple of weeks is going to look like. We are actually in, let's look at, let me move this over. This is week 6. Now, again, all of this is important because you will see all of this reading. It ties back into the assignments and the work that you have to do. This week, many of you have already submitted it, but your assignment and some very good work. But assignment 6 is due by Sunday evening, and this is one of my favorite assignments, or some of my favorite readings, as you're learning, about what is servant leadership. There's some good thinking there. I want you to go back and make sure that you look under week 6, class session 6. There's some good stuff in there about servant leadership. And there's an article in there that I found last year, and I kept it in there simply because the message was so relevant for what teachers and administrators were experiencing at the time because of COVID. But even though we are somewhat on the other side of COVID, I don't think it's completely over, but we're on the other side of things. That message is still so relevant to where we are in society today, and especially, in education. So I would, if you have not read that, take the time to read it and just look at where we are now based on what the message is, from that. And you'll find that it was from, actually the author was Northouse. So it was a very relevant article that I found during the time, because it correlates exactly with some of the literature that you're reading now. And there's some a couple of little video clips that I've put in there too, that talks about it kind of brings being a servant leader, bringing it to life. But the thing I like about the ones that have responded already, you were able to immediately take that concept, and you applied it to you as an aspiring administrator. And I will tell you, of all the things that you do, if you're not a servant leader, if you can't have a servant's heart in leadership, that is a big part of your success as an administrator. You've got to have a servant's heart. You've got to know that people care. And Antonio said something in his assignment when he turned it in, and I think it was this one that I really like. Antonio, if you don't mind me using you as an example, Antonio said something about, in his assignment, about that he felt like that one of his strengths was that he was able to listen to people well. And many of you said the same thing. But Antonio, you took it a little bit further. And I really capitalized on that. And, so many times I have to catch myself, because, I'm probably guilty of this as well. But, sometimes, how your mouth is gapped open because you're ready to say what you need to say before that person can finish what they need to say. That's a turnoff. And that lets people know that you probably are not truly engaged in the conversation, and you're not listening to them like you need to listen to them, because you're already thinking about what you need to say. And always remember, when people need you, they just need you. And they really don't care what you've got to say until you have heard what they need to say. And Dr. Revis, you probably can remember this. I remember I could have some of the most irate parents come in to see me, especially when I was a high school principal. And I learned that, that I tried to stay calm, no matter how mad or upset they were. The only rule that I would not, the only thing, they could even use a few choice words, as long as they didn't use God's name in vain. I would put up with some of the other things that I knew that they needed to get it out. But if they crossed the line with that, I would say, I'm not going to tolerate that in my office. I said, I realize you're upset. I said, can we continue without the use of those words? And 99.9% of the time, that's all it took. But I would listen to them, and I would actually get in a stance so that they knew that I was engaged in their conversation. I would look them dead in the eyes. I would nod. I would listen. And when they would finally, you could see the body language starting to de-escalate. And I would finally ask them after a while, I would say, sir or ma'am or both. I said, are you through? I said, is there anything else that you need to say to me? Anything? And when they finally said no, I said, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to say, now I have listened to everything that you've said. I've listened to everything. I'm going to ask you to listen to everything that I've got to say without interruption. Can we agree to do that? And did you know that almost every time, Dr. Revis, every time it worked out, and before it was over with, most of them were shaking my hand or they were thanking me and they were leaving out. But it was because I took the time to listen. And a lot of them, you know, we became good friends. I was there for 6 years at that high school, so I was able to build a lot of relationships over the 6 years. And you know, it just made all the difference in the world. Listening is so important. Being a servant leader, not only in your school, but being a servant leader to the communities that you serve. So, you know, that is, so I'm excited about, you know, the work that you're going to be providing me with, you know, based on servant leadership. I want to pull up something. Dr. Revis, I have told him that I'm just deviating from the norm today, and it's going to be more, I'm going to just do some talking. You're going to do some talking in just a little bit, and then we're going to let them just have at it asking questions, because I want them to feel very comfortable as they're moving into the next level. Dr. Revis, you were here when I told them out of the 14 students, 10 of them have gotten their scores back and they have 4s. I have 1 in there waiting on Felicia's, and hers has got to be a 4. And I've got 3 that will submit hopefully no later than tomorrow. I've talked with 1 of them and I'll get it tomorrow. The other 2, haven't heard from them. But at this point, we have almost straight 4s in this class on the CAP. So, you know.
That is awesome. That is very awesome. A lot of good, very hard focused work.
And I will tell you this, I'm not supposed to do it. I have access to going back and looking at all the other classes. Guess what? Excuse my grammar, ain't another class got all 4s like this. So, you know, I'm bragging, okay? Ain't another class got all 4s like this so far. So I want 14 4s. So just know that that's what I'm striving for. Let me pull this up. I wanted to remind you in Blackboard. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. In Blackboard, you have, here it is. Just remember in Blackboard, this is, you have your, this tells you, again, this talks about, and I've broken it down in your helpful hints, but this is just another way of saying the same thing. This tells you all about the SIAP, the School Improvement Action Plan. It takes it task by task and goes over everything, the 21 competencies that you've got to do in task 6. And I'll go over that again in just a few minutes. It breaks down, you know, what does it mean by the disaggregated data that you've got to work with? What is a focus group? It gives you some good information and some places to go as you're looking at what you need to do there. Dr. Lamb has done an excellent job aligning, you know, where you can go find all the stuff that you need to find. You don't need to really be worried about that so much, because I have broken all this down into the helpful hints document that you've got. I'm just telling you that this is there if you need to go back and look somewhere else. Then it tells you again, step by step, task by task, what you've got to do with the SIAP. So this is just another way of going back. If you think that in my helpful hints that something's not quite clear, this is where you can go, because this is where I pulled it from. This tells you task 3, everything about the focus group that you've got to do. But this is what I want to point out is so important. If you go to the end of this document in Blackboard, let me come on down. There it is. Okay, here it is. This is what I want you to be reminded of. Because sometimes we get caught up in things. This is another, it's a cheat sheet. Remember, we always strive to be accomplished. This tells you everything that you need to do, in addition to what I've told you that you need to do in the helpful hints document, to make sure that you're accomplished on task 1. And make sure that if it's in there in black, that means that you should put it in your document. And if there's an and there, that means there's something up here, and that means you got to do something else down here. Sometimes there's an and then there's another and. So make sure that you do your checklist and you look at everything that it says to be accomplished, that you've checked it off in the final SIAP, that you've done all of that to be able to get your work done. It's the same thing with the SIAP task 2. Now I do want to tell you that I found an error in here, and I've got to let Dr. Lamb know so that can, when he updates this, it can be corrected. When you get to task 6, remember this is your 21 competencies. It's going to tell you down there, it's going to say 13 competencies. That is not true. It's 21 competencies. I don't know where that 13 came from, but you must have all 21 competencies in task 6. So when you look at this, just make sure. And I want you to look at the difference. This is being proficient. That it says that your narrative analyzes aspects of course content and clinical experiences that contribute to the development of those 21 competencies. That means that you are proficient. You're doing what needs to be done. But now, how am I going to get accomplished in that? What's the key word right there? Extensively. That means you got to do more than just respond to it. You've got to go into detail with this. So that's the difference. And I will tell you, I've had students that task 1 through 5 were, on point, and they got to task 6 and they were mediocre in their responses, and they didn't extensively analyze it, and they missed getting a 4.0 simply because they got this far and they slacked off a little bit. Don't let that happen to you. Okay, this is in your Blackboard. Use this as a guide as you are completing your work. I want to remind you too that in Blackboard there is a SIAP final evidence template. Now it's not detailed like when you were in when you started out in this program in the app. So in the app tail, when you were with Dr. Hamilton and she used this guide on there, it's not the same thing. But it's got your basic information, your cover sheet, and then remember we told you way back, we said that if it's in black, what happens? You write it, it stays. If it's in yellow, highlighted in yellow, that means you've got to write something. There's narrative work that's got to go there. And then if it's in red, that means that those are helpful hints. And this is where you can go and find information. Now, again, the helpful hints document that I've given you, all of it is inclusive in that. So you don't need, I'm just showing you that this is, when you get to your template, you follow the template and set it up just like you've done those in the past. But if you've followed my helpful hints document, when you get to here, then you will have done all of this and more, because I was very, very comprehensive in what I told you to do there. And I wanted to bring up
Dr. Steb, can I ask a question about task 6, please?
Okay, there, I'm going to bring it up. Hold just a second. Go ahead and talk to me now.
So for task 6, it's got the 21 competencies listed.
Uh-huh.
But then in that rubric, didn't the accomplish just say 13
Yeah,
competencies?
I just said that. don't pay, there's a mistake
Okay,
there.
sorry.
So that's okay. There's a mistake there. So change that 13 to 21.
Okay, because then I
And-
was going through and saying how some of the competencies actually in the folio ask you to address the SIAP, but there's not 13 of those.
No, no.
Okay.
And again, what I'm looking at, and who am I talking to now? I can't see.
Michelle, sorry.
Okay, Michelle, that's okay. Michelle, when you get to that, just you can reflect, because this is a reflection. You can reflect on the SIOP, but you can reflect on anything that you have done comprehensively throughout the program. It can
Okay.
be your internship experience, or it can be any of the work that you've done. That's a guide. And but you know, when I look at that, as long as it relates to leadership and the work that you've done over the course of the program, then I'm not going to say no to any of it.
Okay, and then my next question is, when we do the folio, we have an evidence that we attach. It might be an agenda, it might be a PowerPoint. Or
Right.
when we do task 6, would we add those things as appendices, or do they not need to have an artifact that goes?
You don't have to have an artifact with your evidence work. Just
Okay.
be comprehensive in your narrative work.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if you decided that you wanted to put something there for clarity purposes, I'm not going to tell you not to, but you don't have to. Just make sure that you know that you've got comprehensively several examples of what you're talking about there. You know, whatever that competency is. Good question, though. I will say that I think Michelle, Ashley, and I'm trying to think if anybody else has. I know, but both of you have done. You're almost halfway through with the SIOP at this point, and have done an excellent job. You know, up to this point. You know, I have no qualms about it. But now, both of you, Ashley and Michelle, both of you answer this. The information that I've given you to the helpful hints with the SIOP, has that guided you well in doing the work that you've done? Has it helped? Just what can you say to to the class about at this point about what they need to look at? Either of you, both of you.
I mean, I would say yes. I am definitely a look at all the papers type person. So I use the rubric, the PowerPoint that was up there, and the helpful hints.
Okay, good. So
I agree, and I did go back and look at in the CAP, there's a lot that goes right into your paper that you've done.
mhm.
So if we think back to all the evidences that we've already completed.
And
you've
answer
worked to
this,
Point to
Michelle.
finish the SIOP.
Go ahead, Michelle,
No, just-
and both of you. When I tell you to go, you know that. Just like, let's say, for instance, let me come down here to task 1. In red, where I tell you to go to the APSL and look in those places. Did that help as you went back, and did it guide you to more easily go back and to find information that you could use when you got there? Did that help?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it did. And the headings up a little bit higher. Just let me know the pieces that I needed to go back and fill in that I didn't already have.
Good. So my point in saying all that is, if you will follow it and use the other things that I've taught, but if you'll follow it step by step and don't skip anything, you will be okay. You will be okay. And just make sure that all of your work flows, you know, that if you've got to put you know, sometimes when you copy and paste, you just need to make sure that you go back and you put a transition narrative in there so that it's not just something there. You know, there's a rhyme and reason for it being there, and one thing flows to the other. So just make sure that your narrative work, that everything flows, that there's connections there. most everybody was with us last week, and I extensively covered task 1 through 6. I'm going to ask questions now out of 1 through 6. Are there any particular questions that you need, just like Michelle asked about task 6? Have you had a chance to look at it at this point to be able to ask any questions about something that you may not understand or you need more explanation about any of it? Okay. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. Next week is the 4th of July week, and we were not going to come online as a class, and we're still not coming online as a class. But I will be home next Tuesday evening. I'm coming back online. So I will be here, and every one of you should be at a place where you can ask a question, or you can stay online for the hour, that whatever time it takes. But Dr. Revis, I think Dr. Revis is going to join me. We're just going to come online and we're going to answer questions about anything that you would need next week. We'll be online. If nobody shows up after 30 minutes, then Dr. Revis and I will have said everything that we need to say to each other, and we'll say good night and we'll move on. You can communicate with us, throughout the week if you need to. But I can't stress enough about following everything step by step and be comprehensive in what you're doing, and you're going to be fine with this.
Dr. Stedman, before we leave tonight, I want to talk about deadlines to Taskstream and be a little more definitive than I was last week, if you don't mind.
Yes, and I was
going
to go back to that and pull that up. I looked at that just a few minutes ago before we came online. I just want to ask again, are there any questions at this point about what the requirements are for the SIAP? I know that there probably will be some once you get into it, but do you know what to do? Okay. With that in mind, I'm going to pull, let's see. Let me see the Taskstream schedule. And this is where we are. Now, remember last week, and I think, Michelle, I think you asked a question and I clarified some things last week. It shows that like the SIAP, task 1 through 3, the due date is July 7th. But I said I was not going to allow you to wait until July 7th to submit all 3 tasks at one time. I've set it up in Blackboard so that when you get through with SIAP task 1, you send it in for my review, and and I'll grade it and tell you what you need to fix with it, or I can tell you you're good to go on to task 2. The thing is, this is guiding you task 1 through 3. They must be completed no later than July 7th. I need to have all 3, the first 3 tasks of the SIAP completed. You need to be cleared by July 7th. You know why? Count, look at the next week. July 15th, that's 8 days, isn't it? That means in 8 days that you must have task 4 through 6 completed. And guess what? That gives time for me to tell you if there's any adjustments that needs to be made. But the drop dead date for all 6 evidence work is July 19th. Now, guess what? You're add-on licensure students and you're not marching, but you have to complete this program no differently than if you were graduating and you were marching. For DPI purposes, for the registrar's purposes, there is no difference in the cutoffs and when we have to have work graded and when we have to have it in. Now, this gives just barely enough time in there. If you wait until this time, If you wait until the very end, if there's problems, that you know, you're at your own risk, because this gives just a barely enough time for your evaluator to get it back. And I will tell you, I have had students, they're tired by this time, and you know, sometimes they would just submit something and thinking that it was going to go through, but I'm not going to let it go through. I'm not going to allow it, because I know what the evaluator will say. So, you know, go ahead and do it right the first time, because you'll get it back the second time or third time until I get it like I want to get it. Just remember, by July 19th, all Taskstream work must be completed as it relates to your evidences, all 6 evidences. Now, this is Dr. Revis right here. Dr. Revis, you want to talk about these?
Okay, well, I would say that your competency folio needs to be done before July 26 as well. I'm hoping that you guys, but when you finished your CAP, that you went ahead and started working on adding some of those artifacts in. We can't wait until July 26 to have that folio completed, because that gives us no turnaround time. So it doesn't give me time to review it and to get you information back and feedback back. So don't wait until July 26 on your folio. The dispositions and
Dr.
your
Revis,
competency.
may I say something before you go? And again,
Sure.
Dr. Revis doesn't need you to just send them one at a time, because there's 21 of them. However, if you get 4 or 5 of them done, it's okay to send 4 or 5 at a time, and she can let you know
Yes.
you're on the right track. And that's what I would advise you to do. Go ahead and send her 4 or 5. And the one thing that I'm going to ask you to do, when you submit something for her review for the competency folio, send her an email and just say, Dr. Revis, I've put something for you to review on my competency folio into Taskstream. Let her know that. Okay?
Yes,
ahead,
thank
Dr.
you. And on your internship logs, remember you submit your third semester, this semester internship log into your competency folio at the end, and make sure it's signed off by your site mentor. An electronic signature is fine. And once I view that, then I will tell you that you have met your requirements for your internship hours for this semester. You're ready to put those together and move them over to your DRF folio. And I know in my internship shell on the left-hand side, there is a link to a video of how to do that. And I bet Dr. Stedman has this in his shell as well.
And he will, and I'll show them that in a minute. Just a reminder, let's go back to that competency folio again. And you got to do the same thing there. You got to put all 3 semesters together. And once Dr. Revis approves this semester, she's got to approve the 21 for this semester. Then she'll tell you, then when she approves that, she'll say, go back and take all 3 of them and transfer them into Taskstream for a final evaluation. But she'll tell you when you're ready, when she's ready for you to do that. But Dr. Revis, you're right. Let me see. Here it is. How to upload.
How to upload, yeah.
And there's that competency, completed competency folio for evaluation. So this is another, another guide. And if you run into problems with that, and again, Dr. Revis and I can guide you on this, but we don't see what you see on your end. So, we kind of have to just talk and walk you through it, once you get there. But between us and Dr. Lamb, we can get you through that if you end up having any problems with that. Dr. Revis, there's one more thing that they have to do this time that they haven't done in the past.
Your competency analysis.
Okay, that is, okay.
It's right above the folio.
There's
there.
that one, yes.
Yeah.
And then and you can go ahead and do your School of Ed dispositions now. It doesn't take, it takes 5-10 minutes at the most to go ahead and do that. And you submit the dispositions for an evaluation. And I will actually go in there and look for those, Dr. Revis, when they start submitting those. You
Where do
cannot
they,
do,
where do they find, where do they find that exit survey that goes to Dr. Lamb? Is it in their DRF folio?
uh,
I
I,
think it is, maybe.
I'm looking at, and I was looking at something, let me see. I may have to ask that question of him because I was looking for, let me see. Has anybody seen, in looking at the stuff, have you seen, let me look under the SIAP course assessments and see if it's there.
I think it shows up
Oh,
in Taskstream. I think it may be in their Taskstream, the exit
okay.
survey.
Okay.
And and Dr. Lamb looks at those surveys. He disaggregates the data, and trust me when I tell you he shares with us, and that's how he does program planning and program improvement. So this is your time to give a lot of good feedback on what we can do to improve our program.
Dr.
In
Revis,
Taskstream, there is then that
okay.
says end of program leader survey.
Okay, good. Okay, that's it then. It's in your task string. And what I'll do, because I don't want to leave here because I've got to go to something else, we will go to that. It's not time for you to do it yet anyway. We'll go to that so that everybody know exactly where it is before before you have to do it. Okay. Thank you. I thought it was there. I knew I had seen it. I just couldn't remember where I had seen it. Dr. Revis, anything else that you can think of?
I think that's good.
And then I just wanted to bring up, let me see, assignments. Here they are. I wanted to bring up that assignment 11 again. First, okay, just a reminder, you're completing assignment 6 this week, which is dealing with the servant leadership. Assignment 7 next week is your second case study, so make sure that you're planning well for that. Then the next week is assignment 8, and remember that is all of the work that you've got to do from the strengths-based leadership book. And then the week after that will be your third. Week 9 will be your third case study. Week 10, you don't have to do any work until after the presentation. Dr. Lamb will be doing his presentation on interviewing, and you'll just do a reflection on his presentation. And then week 11 is where we are now, and this is where Dr. Revis led off on this last week, and we just wanted to make sure that if you've had time to reflect on this, do you have any questions of Dr. Revis or me at this time about what you're going to need to do with this? Everybody, you understand as a Zoom team that you're going to be working with your Zoom team. One of you're going to take the lead, and you're actually going to do a group presentation on the North Carolina Digital Learning Competency for School Administrators that's been assigned to you. And again, just be creative with it. We haven't put stringent rules down there, so it's just you're doing a presentation to your school improvement team or to your superintendent, to your administration. That's to just kind of look at it like that, and what you would say based, about on your school. What would you say? Dr. Revis, any comments on this
Well,
assignment?
I know you've probably not had time to meet with your Zoom teams to do anything, but when you have a moment, even individually, start unpacking each of these individual competencies so that when you come together, you've already looked at it and you've already unpacked it yourself. And that will save you some time as a team
It
to
will.
really know what you're going to have to delve into and talk about in your presentation. That would be my only thing I would say.
And I would go ahead and I would advise you. Now, somebody may say, yeah, I'll take the lead on this. And if you do, just as long as your team's okay with it, that's okay. As a leader, I would be prepared to go ahead and make assignments when we came together. I would have it mapped out and say, who will do this, who will do this, and just kind of map it out, what needs to be done. Instead of, making all those, having had to make all those decisions once you come together. If the leader could have some things already mapped out, that would save you a lot of time. Any other questions? Okay.
So I'm going to ask a clarifying question
Go
for
ahead.
our team.
Go ahead, Michelle.
For team 4, we have, and Dr. Revis mentioned this last week and used an example, but we have 2 to do.
Right.
Are we going to select data from one of the team members and use it for both 4 and 5? Or do we need to pick 2 different team members' data, one address 4 and one address 5?
You could do either or. It doesn't matter, Michelle. Whatever your team decides on, whatever is easier for your team is okay with us.
Okay.
That's a team decision.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, Dr. Revis?
Yes, and I would think you would want to use the same data personally.
I would. That's me too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's up to you. I think you'll save yourself some time if you use the same.
And I would integrate that, Michelle. I would integrate them as as much as possible. Realizing that you've got, an extra one to do. So if there's things that you can integrate, I don't want to shortchange, either any of them, but there may be times that you can integrate some of it. They kind of tie in a lot together anyway.
Okay, but the intent isn't that 2 team members will take 4 and 2 team members will take 5. You'd like all 4 team members to address both of them.
Not necessarily, since your team can do differently. Since you have 2 of them, if that's what your team decides to do, then I'm perfectly okay with that.
Thank you.
And if that was the case, Michelle, if that was the case, then you will be looking at 2 different sets of data. And that's okay. Dr. Revis, would you be okay with that?
Yes, I would definitely.
Yeah, I think that makes good sense,
Yeah.
Michelle. I mean, I think that you could plan, because you've got a large team, one of the larger teams. So that would work. Okay. Other questions? Those are good questions, though. Let me see. Okay, here we are. Okay, we're going to unmute now and just, the next few minutes, whatever you need to ask or whatever you need to do, now's your time. So have we answered them all? Or okay.
I have a question for Dr.
Okay.
Revis.
Okay, Penny, go ahead.
Okay.
My principal has had me yesterday and most of today. I have gone through all of our cumulative folders.
Oh, bless your heart.
All of those folders and pulled out inactive. We're trying to sort them and get 5th grade ready to be sent over to 6th grade. And then this afternoon, she came to me and gave me a copy of our handbook. And she said, I would like for you to take the time to create, design, find another template. This one's old and outdated, and work on that. can I count this as intern hours?
Most definitely.
Absolutely. Those are great intern hours.
Yes.
Those cumulative folders were worth every one of them.
Most definitely.
All
That's
right,
good.
thank
That's
you.
good stuff. Yes. Any other questions? Okay. I want to see any outstanding work. I want it by tomorrow afternoon. At the
And
latest.
Dr. Stedman, if I may just say, I think you said you had all but 3 candidates who had submitted the
Right,
CAP.
right. And I've spoken with one this afternoon, so
Okay.
I
You know,
know where they
I'm
are.
here, guys. If you're stuck, if I can help you, you got to reach out to me though.
Okay, yeah. And a couple of them are so close they could almost spit at it. They're that close to getting it to me. So, you know, just get it
Okay.
to me. Just get it to me. Yeah. So, but I want all 4s. Okay. So let me get all 4s. Anyway, anything else? Anything else? Okay. Well, guys, you got a lot ahead of you the next few days, but you, like I said, we're at a good place, and the more I looked at it, I kept checking Taskstream day, and more I see those scores come in, the happier I got. So that's it. Dr. Revis, thank you for everything. And again, reach out to her if you need her. You know how to get up with me if you need me. Okay.
Good evening.
Hey, good night, everybody.